Good morning, my darlings. Grand rising on my end of the pond. I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm here nonetheless. So, whether you catch it live or you catch it on the replay, we are now into the next chapters. I believe it's 7 and 8. So, let's get it running. Okay? Much love, hugs, and kisses to all.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. First off, can't play me. I ain't no Xbox. I'm pulling up, busting windows. I'm at your mama's spot, kicking cups, smacking dice. I'll make this block hot. No trapping here, slacking where? Wait, get your home right. I'm sick and tired of fucking crying and sleepless nights. Bitches approaching me, telling me they don't know of me. Oh, you think you slick? You think you got one up? You better ask my last nigga, cut his ass right up. Yeah. Can't cry but spill milk if I knew it was rotten. And all these memories we had, they was quickly forgotten. Oh, this nigga think he's smooth, he tryna cast it over me. Keep on lying through his teeth, leave his ass like Emily B. No pink turtlenecks, but I'm feeling bad. You less, I can't let them go, but watch me loosen up. My grip, I'm hopping in my bank. I'm talking about that go off. Shit, I need a couple bags. Ain't talking about no go yard. Bitch, you geeking for. I'm really about the dragon, gon' cry no more. I had to tell that nigga stop playing with me before they find this picture on murder me. Be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to better. That's the way you handling me. I told you just be careful with me. You better be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to better. That's the way you handling me.
Well, grand rising, my darlings. Today, we are doing the next installment of Be More Careful. Y'all know I gotta do that all over again. Could y'all hear the intro and all that? Because I don't know if my mic was turned off. I didn't even do a sound check. That's messed up. Let me check. Okay, yeah, my mic was on. All right, here we go. My bad, darlings. Much love, hugs, and kisses. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so we're doing chapters 7 and 8 of Be More Careful, the revised edition. It's approximately 20 years old, somewhere around there, by the king of urban fiction, Shannon Holmes. Shannon Holmes is the national bestseller of Be More Careful, Bad Girls, Never Go Home Again, and Dirty Game. Let's begin, my darlings. Part 2, which is actually chapter 9. My bad, we did 7 and 8 already. We're up to part 2, chapter 9. Told you it was a cold read because I want to relive it. Thank you. I wanted to relive it with you all as I read it. Okay? Part 2, Black, chapter 9. Click, clack, click, clack was the sound of Black's gaiters echoing loudly in the bullpen. He paced the holding cell back and forth, trying to burn up all his energy. It won't be long now, he thought. For 4 years, he had lived for this day. Now that it was here, he was nervous as hell, sweating profusely through his suit. His lawyer, Stanley Steinbeck, a short, balding Jewish man, told him after he got convicted to sit tight. He beat it on appeal, and he did. Or he beat it on appeal, and he did. It took a little longer than Black expected, but he did what he said he'd do. He found a loophole, a technicality in the case, thus allowing Black to slip through the cracks of the system. Now Black was going home on an appeal bond. Stanley Steinbeck was on his job because Black was paying him a king's ransom, a six-figure salary. He argued Black's case in Maryland's Supreme Court successfully, introducing new evidence of police mishandling of evidence. After both sides argued the relevance and objections were sustained and overruled, Black was granted a new trial. In a matter of minutes, he would be a free man physically. Mentally, he was living with his crime, and Black knew he would live with it until the day he died. He'd had no choice but to live with the guilt, which truthfully was eating him up inside. If he could take back killing Ty, he would. It wasn't even a second thought. Thick steel bars were all that separated Black from the outside world. His mother and little brother were waiting outside the courthouse for him in a rented stretch limousine. For him, it was comforting to know that somebody still had his back no matter what, unlike his fake-ass fiancée, who showed her true colors when she thought a nigga was down and out. That bitch just don't know how wrong she was, thought Black. Netta had no idea Black was being released either. After all that time spent behind bars, he had so many things he wanted to do, like fuck up Netta for one. Then find all them niggas that owed him money and fuck them up. Organize some square footage and put some shit together. Yeah, that's the plan. But Netta first. She had crossed him. He swore when he ran into her it would be nothing nice. From the time Black got arrested, she shitted on him. No visits, no mail, no nothing. She even put a block on her phone to stop him from calling. How could I be so stupid to trust her like that? Why did I try to turn a hoe into a housewife? From the beginning, she was a snake, but he couldn't see it. His feelings for her had interfered with his judgment. But payback is a bitch, and Netta was about to see how quickly sugar turns to shit. While Black was down, all he heard about through the prison grapevine was that damn pussy pound. They were the talk of the town, even in the joint. Famous for fucking hustlers, their reputation had preceded itself. Whenever Black heard of them, or thought about how Netta played him, he became furious. Nobody plays Black and gets away with it. Nobody. The sound of the jingling keys brought Black to The sound of the jingling keys brought Black to reality. Back to the bullpen. The court officer stopped in front of his holding cell and fiddled with the turnkeys, inserting the right one. The large steel gate swung open. "Hey, Hollywood bag and baggage, you made bail," said the white court officer. "You may be somebody real important out there in them streets. Somebody just posted $1 million cash bail for you." "You don't know?" Black asked him back with a big grin as he gathered his legal paperwork. Ready or not, Baltimore, here I come, he thought to himself as he walked down the corridor towards his freedom. Once every so often in every neighborhood in the ghetto, fate, chance, and circumstance combines to produce that once in a lifetime hustler who is larger than life. So many come and go, but few truly leave their mark. Out of those choosing few, only a handful dares to be compared to big time hustlers from other cities. This infamy would be Deshaun Black Williams' destiny. First impressions are most lasting. For Black, a day that will be forever etched in his mind was the day he witnessed his father's murder. This was his introduction to the game. Derek Fats Williams was a small time drug dealer and full time gambler. In and out of prison on petty drug charges most of his young son's life, he was still a good dad when he was home. The problem was he hardly ever was. Even when he was out on the streets, he was always into something, always trying to get his hustle on. His entire world revolved around chasing a dollar and breaking the law, especially when it came to feeding his family. So, quite naturally, jail became his second home. To be specific, Maryland House of Corrections, also known as the Cut. Fats was the kind of convict who knew everybody in the joint and vice versa. He'd done his bids in almost every correctional institution in the state of Maryland, from Hagerstown to Eastern Shore. He was a habitual offender who had been breaking the law as long as he himself could remember. Black wanted for nothing when his father was home. He was his father's pride and joy, and Fat spoiled Black rotten. Growing up, Black was a basketball prodigy. It was in his genes. His father was once a legend in his time, too. Black had hoop dreams of playing basketball for the national powerhouse, Dunbar High, just like other greats from East Baltimore, like Sam Cassell's, Muggsy Bogues, Keith Booth, David Wingate, and Reggie Lewis, who were all before him. They were all able to escape the mean streets of East Baltimore by excelling on the court. His dreams weren't far-fetched at all. Black had skills. He ate, slept, and dreamt basketball. At a young age, his physical talents and athleticism were already apparent. He was like lightning up and down the court and could dunk a basketball at the age of 12. Much love, hugs, and kisses to all entering the room. The Dome, a popular playground in East Baltimore, was his house. He broke every scoring record there and tore up every major summer league in Baltimore. He was being touted as the best sixth grader in the country by all the national sports publications. Already he was receiving recruitment letters from Division I universities. Neither the NCAA nor the NBA will ever see his talents because the day his father died was the day Black's dreams and childhood ended. On this day, as fate would have it, Fat's luck ran out. Nigga, if you ain't shooting past them damn dice, Fats yelled to some shabby dressed gambler from the Ave. Don't rush me, motherfucker. My name ain't Mike, but I'll still do what I like. Now let me see some cash. Money on the wood makes the game go good, and money out of sight causes fights, said the other old timer. Oh, you petty ass motherfucker. You lames get a little hot hand, and now all of a sudden you the shit. You can tell your ass ain't never had the bank. Ain't nobody's ass betting you, said another participant. Call me what you want, But call me, all right? Y'all hear what I said? Let me see some dough, said Fats again to everybody in the circle. With that, they all began digging in their pockets, pulling out knots of money and placing it on the ground and in their hands so Fats would stop stalling and bet. They were anxious to win their money back, and just as soon as Fats pulled out his dough, wouldn't you know it, a police car slowly cruised down the street. The two white officers stared hard at the group of gamblers who were just looking nonchalantly as if they were just sitting on the stoop, shooting the breeze with this warm summer night. The police must have believed that they weren't committing any crime because they kept passing, excuse me. The police must have believed that they weren't committing any crime because they just kept passing through. Fat stood there hoping they kept it moving. Spooked and out of nowhere, one of the guys standing in the circle suddenly dropped the dice and ran through an alley. Nobody knew the guy was on the run and had a fugitive warrant for jumping bail. A few other disgruntled gamblers gave chase, but the majority stayed. In a commotion, Fats picked up the dice and switched them with his own loaded pair without anyone noticing. Well, almost anyone. Normally, the hand is quicker than the eye, but when you're starving and down on your dumb luck like Squirrel was, you pay attention to everything. Fuck that dumbass nigga, let him go. All the real gamblers are still here. Let them scramblers go. It's my turn to roll now, Fat shouted as the bets were placed and the stakes were raised to eliminate the short money. The name of the game was CeeLo. Bet 100 I don't roll for or better. You know what? That's a typo. Bet 100 I don't roll for or better, Fat said. Bet, a man responded. Betcha 200 I don't roll for or better, said Fats to someone else. Bet that, a man responded, and on he went, placing side bets with everybody. Violently, Fats began to shake, the crooked dice in his hand, while talking plenty of shit. The whole while, a 12-year-old black sat on his basketball a few feet away watching. I need a square from Delaware. Niggas think it ain't there. Get 'em, girls. Daddy needs new shoes, said Fats as he rolled the dice against the concrete stoop while the other gamblers stood around forming a Soul Train line on both sides of him. It seemed like an eternity from that time he threw the dice until the time they hit the stoop and stopped spinning. Everyone looked intently towards the ground as the dice slammed up against the stoop and stopped on 4, 5, 6. CeeLo. Fats won and collected all his bets. You're a lucky bastard, someone said. Nigga, it ain't luck, it's skill. This is my bread and meat. If I don't win, then I don't eat, he said, rhyming like he talked as he always did. Fats would be lucky all night long. He killed them, taking all bets and all their money. The only reason he stopped gambling was because he broke them. Fats stung them big time. He strolled off with close to 5,000 in his pocket. Not bad for somebody who started the day with a dollar to his name. Without a dollar to his name. Before Fats and Black could get off the block, they were approached from behind. It was Squirrel, the only sore loser who peeped the switch of the dice. Let me holler at you for a second, yo, Squirrel called him from behind. Fat stopped in his tracks and turned. When he saw who it was, he looked puzzled. He didn't know him like that to be rapping with him. They were casual acquaintances who happened to run the same circles. Fats wondered what he could possibly want. Yo, I peeped that shit you pulled back there, and I didn't say nothing. You know I lost a nice piece of change back there. So, I guess that makes us partners. Break me off some of that dough. Fat's face suddenly frowned up. He knew what he did, but he wasn't going to admit it. He got real angry and ignorant with Squirrel. Motherfucker, I don't know what you talking about, and I ain't got nothing for you. I wouldn't give you all the shit you could eat, he spat. Nigga, what you calling me, a cheater? Asked Fats. To accuse a man of cheating in a dice or card game in the ghetto was an automatic death sentence for the accused or the accuser. Fats let it be known in so many words. Preparing for a confrontation, he gently pushed Black away from him to keep him out of danger. Then he slid his hand into his back pocket and whipped out a large knife. He was ready for war. Squirrel stood his ground defiantly. He would not be run away so easily. He wanted what he came for, and he had no plans on coming up short. Squirrel had no choice. It was do or die, kill or be killed. The ultimate ultimatum. In a flash, Squirrel reacted by pulling out a small .25 automatic. The toyish-looking pistol didn't scare Fats one bit. He kept advancing on Squirrel like a cornered rat, and Squirrel attacked. He leveled his gun and squeezed off one shot, stopping Fats dead in his tracks. The bullet struck Fats square in the chest, piercing his heart. He dropped his knife, stumbling as he clutched his chest. Collapsing to the pavement, he was gasping for air. His chest cavity expanded a few times. Then it stopped. Shell-shocked, Black watched in horror as Squirrel went through his father's pockets, removing the large wad of cash. He stood motionless against a storefront window, unable to help his father because Squirrel had his eyes and gun trained on him. After Squirrel finished robbing his father, he turned and ran. As soon as he left, Black ran to his father's side. Bending down, he tried, "Goodbye, Siri."
One moment.
Oh my Jesus. I don't know what I said. As soon as he left, Black, oh my goodness, this time it did it on both devices. "Goodbye, Siri." As soon as he left, Black ran to his father's side. Bending down, he tried desperately to talk to him. "Daddy, Daddy, don't die," he cried. It was a lost cause. His words fell on deaf ears. His father was dead. Bystanders tried to pull Black away from his father's body, but he wouldn't budge. He bent down lower and kissed his father's cold cheek as he cried over his father's lifeless body. "I promise. I'll get him, Dad. I promise. I'll get him," he whispered in his father's ear. In his mind, this was far from over. It was never a question whether Black would kill Squirrel. It was only a question of when.
Trying to make you understand. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and their shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and their shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we known for money, murder, and sex. Murphy Homes, the land of the chrome and the raw bone. Yellow tape, vicinity, labeled a court zone. Ammunition, ranger protects the crossbows. Run up in cribs, quick to put the pistol cross stones. We reppin' and it ain't no secret. Taurus between the pelvis and the briefs. We got pieces that will rip all pieces. Double clips take together will endanger the species. My crime now mixed with raw, so my paper increase. reasons. I make a million on a busy corner. Master chemist with a business formula. Gotta run, bounce to California. Y'all niggas know how Baltimore is. Stay sending bad work to the mortician and the florist. When I'm out of town, it's getting extorted. Then escorted to the city limits. Minus that 6-digit fortune. These locals are compelled by them evil forces. While haters get 18 holes like they up in golf courses. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. From my locks and my gems and my all black, saw hoodlum. War wounds and battle incisions granted me wisdom. Penny gold helped me as a child in his bosom, feeding me the milk of the world. I was given the game and taught the rules by urban wizards. Got you words with his flow. It's suburban vicious. Matter of fact, got you more. It's intense and malicious. Yeah, they don't get it fucked up. I like to send a shout out to all my bitches, from the knock 'em down to the pussy pound. Keep it tight, my bitches, cause every day in the underworld we facing dilemmas. Do we run or bust that gun? We'll face it together, my niggas. Sell pot, running forward with big plans and big decisions. Ain't stopping the hustle, so keep it together, my niggas. It's one love. All it takes is one snitch to ruin it all. Keep your circle close knit, cause a brick house won't fall. Keep your basement door locked, don't let them rats infiltrate. Cause if you see one, then you got 20 that poison the food on your plate. Listen, build your man, cause I got a plan to make it right. Please don't come through tripping, cause you won't make it through the night. You get, be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. There's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. There's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. Hit me.
Much love, hugs, and kisses to all my darlings in the room. Let's continue. Chapter 10. The repercussions behind Fat's death were felt immediately by his young girlfriend, Cynthia Harris. With the family breadwinner dead, she had to carry the burden of caring for their 2 sons alone. As a high school dropout and unskilled worker, there wasn't much she could do to earn a living, so the family was forced to apply for public assistance. Their odds of survival were slim. One good thing that Fats did before he passed was buying his family a measly row home with the proceeds from his gambling. The house was located in East Baltimore on Ashland Avenue and Madeira Street, which was a ghetto as you could get, which was as ghetto as you could get. The area was high crime and low income. Here, it was survival of the fittest. The poverty-stricken neighborhood was where Black spent most of his formative years. It's not easy for a woman to raise a man, and Lord knows Cynthia had her hands full trying to raise a man-child like Black. As hard as she tried, she couldn't compete with the streets for her son's attention. Unable to guide him right, she sat back and watched helplessly as he went wrong. She watched him become a product of his environment, the ghetto. His family was a perfect example of poverty, with no father and at times no gas, heat, or electricity. They lived welfare check to welfare check. Black grew tired of watching his mother struggle to feed and clothe him and his little brother. By the time he was 13, he took to the streets in an attempt to make ends meet. Cynthia gave her sons all that she had, pouring out her heart and pocketbook to give them the best of everything she could afford. But it never came close to matching what their father had provided for them. Her welfare check never seemed to stretch far enough. To her youngest son, Stink, it didn't matter what he was given. He was too young to understand things. But for Black, it did matter. He was ridiculed at school for the clothes his mother bought for him. He understood it was the best that she could do, and he never complained to her. But he fought every day to keep the other kids from teasing him. Over time, Black became a very good fighter. Unfortunately, by the time he was 14, he stopped going to school altogether. There was only so much his mother could do to protect her firstborn from the dangers of the streets. Black had a void in his life, a void that could only be filled by a male father figure. He needed that type of guidance that only a man could demand of him. Black dabbled in all kinds of petty crimes, from stealing cars to snatching pocketbooks. Later, experience taught him to leave the petty crimes alone. They were high risk and low reward. Black was at the stage of his life where he was easily influenced by what he saw. Black's thoughts and opinions about life were shaped entirely by his environment. Hustlers in nice clothes, with beautiful women, driving expensive cars, all excited him. In the ghetto, as well as the outside world, money made things happen. Money decided who lived or died. Because of it or the lack of it, Black soon realized if he acquired enough money, he could buy anything: friends, happiness, even a little time. His every waking moment was spent thinking about making big money. Slowly, he allowed himself to be corrupted by older hustlers. As time passed and he grew a little older, his mother realized Black couldn't or wouldn't be saved by anyone from the streets. On the outside, Black was motivated by desperation, young and ambitious. He was anxious to come up with young and ambitious. He was anxious to come up. With his determination, he was destined to exceed past his wildest dreams. A major turning point in Black's young life came one day while he was looking out his bedroom window. He observed an older hustler running back and forth to his stash spot. He patiently waited for the right time to steal his package. He crept out his back door and took the stash. It was a large Ziploc bag filled with tall, clear glass vials of powder cocaine and what appeared to be Tylenol capsules. Inside his bathroom, he quietly examined what he had taken. He counted 100 red top vials of coke and 100 pills. Something told him to grab one of the pills and open it up, so he did. The contents of which spilled on his fingers. He tasted it, then quickly spit it out. This ain't Tylenol, he thought to himself. Despite the fact that it was white, he reasoned it must be dope. And it was. He gathered up the drugs and placed them back into the Ziploc bag and went back to his room and waited for late night to come. The coast would be clear, and all the regulars would have gone in by then. He would be ready to peddle his stolen drugs. At 1 a.m., Black snuck out of his house to the corner and began to sell drugs. He found out from a dope fiend that the coke was worth about $10 a vial, and the dope was worth $5 a pill. While Black was making sales, a white Mercedes Benz S500 with an AMG kit slowly slowly drove by, sitting on 20s. The car was so sick Black felt nauseous. 10 minutes later, it came back and pulled up right next to him. He thought he was going to vomit. That's how slick the whip was. For all he knew, it was the dude whose stash he had stolen. Something told him to hold his horses, though, and wait and see. Looking inside the car was impossible. The tinted glass was too dark. Slowly, the driver's side window began to come down. "What you doing out here this time of night, yo? You slinging?" a voice asked from inside the car. Black still couldn't quite see in the car. He bent down to get a better look at the driver. Instantly, he recognized him. It was Nard, one of the biggest dope dealers in East Baltimore. Black idolized him. On plenty of days, he wished he was Nard, even if only for one day. Now, here he was talking face to face with the man. Fate was smiling on him. "Yeah, yo, I'm trying to do my thing," Black responded with his coke and a smile. "Oh, yeah, shorty?" asked Nard, returning the smile. He had seen Black plenty of times, but he never acknowledged him because he was running around committing juvenile crimes, making the strip hot. Nard didn't know he was hustling or that he wanted to. "Who got you out here this time of night? Don't you know ain't nothing out here but stick-up kids and the knockers, yo?" said Nard. "Ain't nobody got me out here. I'm doing my own thing, yo. And I don't care about no knockers or stick-up boys. I gotta do what I gotta do," Black said honestly. "That's the spirit, dog," thought Nard, "even though your shit is a little reckless." The kid had heart, no doubt about that. And that's what mattered. Plus, he had potential. Nard immediately saw the value of having this young gun on his team. If Black got locked up, he wouldn't do serious time, since he was a juvenile, and by him being so young, Nard figured he could easily control and shape Black into whatever he wanted him to be. With his brains and Black's heart, they would be unstoppable. "Shorty, you better start caring, yo, before your young ass be locked down in Boys Village or found dead in one of these alleys," Nard stated as Black stood there taking the criticism. "You dirty, yo?" he asked. "Yeah," said Black truthfully. "Go stash that shit, then come back. I want you to go for a ride with me," Nard instructed. Black did as he was told, then jumped in Nard's whip. They went cruising the streets of Baltimore, and as they rode, they rapped. Nard got to know Black a little better. He found out they had a lot in common, like the absence of a father in their lives. They both were made orphans by the streets. Nard's father was murdered in the streets of East Bmore too, and single mothers raised both. The more they talked, the more he began to see that there was a method to Black's madness. The kid was doing what he had to do to survive. From that night on, they were extremely close. Leaving his house and staying away for days became Black's MO. He wasn't running away. Rather, he was running to something: the streets. He felt his calling was the drug game. Life had never given him anything, so he hustled for the bare necessities. For other cats on the strip, Hustling was an option, something they did part time. To Black, it was how he fed his family. This was serious business, and he treated it as such. His mother and little brother literally ate with the money he brought home. Knowing his family depended on him made him hustle like there was no tomorrow. He hustled all day, every day. Black started out as a lookout in Nard's drug organization. Nard wanted Black to start slowly from the bottom up because he wanted Black to experience every facet of the game. That way, Black would appreciate something Nard was about to do for him and be forever in his debt. On the front line, Black was exposed to every kind of scheme and scam that a dope fiend could think up. A quick learner, he learned all their tricks and con games from the first time around. To him, a junkie was the worst type of leech there was, and the most dangerous. A junkie was never to be trusted. He realized something else about dope. If you were the average Joe, dope couldn't tempt you. But if you were a dope fiend, dope would kill you. Day after day, he dealt with dope fiends, seeing these zombies line up to buy their early shot of dope, then hurrying back to cop more before shop closed was mind-boggling. What a life, Black thought to himself. Dope was a friend to those too grimy to keep a friend, and an enemy to those too kind to have enemies. Black was dealing with some powerful stuff, and he knew it. In his quest for success, he became merciless, showing no compassion for his fellow man. Black had something to prove, and he wasn't to be fucked with. He beat dope fiends with baseball bats when he felt they disrespected him. And even though he was a kid, talking down to Black like he was a child was a no-no. A real big no-no. That shit got plenty of motherfuckers hurt. Before long, Black was promoted to serving customers. He enjoyed the power his new position gave to him. Being able to serve or deny a junkie hope was a beautiful thing to him. He knew he had their immediate future in the palm of his hands, and he was hard on them. Black didn't take no shorts either. If a junkie had 9 for a 10 bag, they couldn't get it from Black. McDonald's don't take no shorts, and neither do I. Do McDonald's give you that Big Mac if your dough not right? He would stand there and seriously ask them questions and demand an answer. The customers soon began to complain when Nard got wind of his young protege's moves. He pulled them to the side about it. They took another ride in the S500. What's this I hear about you turning away customers because they a little short? He asked. Yo, the same motherfuckers keep coming with shorts. They know how much a blast costs, said Black, defending himself before Nard cut him off. Yo, that's the worst mistake you can ever make. Hoping you know you playing with your life, yo. Don't ever deny a junkie a bag of dope when they ill. The monkey's on their back and they'll kill something for a fix. I don't want it to be you. Taking shorts and giving a bag away from time to time is part of the game. You gotta stop being so petty, yo, and show some love. It don't make you soft, it makes you smart, and junkies will respect you. So, it's cool to take shorts every now and then? Black asked. Yeah, it's alright, yo. Use your own judgment. Keep your customers happy, especially the ones putting money in your pocket. Believe me, If I couldn't stand the loss, I wouldn't be in this game, Nard said, assuring. Word to the wise. Black, take my advice. I've seen a lot of good men get killed for much less. As thorough as you are, you can't take on the world and win. We need them customers as much as they need us. Why you think we give away testers? To attract new customers and keep the clientele we got. It's just an investment. They'll give the money back, plus 100 times more. Remember, it takes money to make money. And if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. School was always in session when Nard talked to Black. He tapped into his reservoir of knowledge to give Black a taste. Like an eager student, Black absorbed it all. He realized he was wrong and Nard was right. He wasn't supposed to carry it like that. Whether or not he knew it, Nard had just saved his life. In the following weeks and months, he applied what he was taught. Junkies called it playing fair. When he began looking out for them, the feedback he received from the streets was positive, and he started getting respect instead of being despised. Though Black was still a young buck, he made some unusual observations for someone his age. He noticed the one common thread that bonded each heroin addict together. They absolutely had to have some dope every day, or they would become violently ill. He couldn't understand the physical chains heroin had on them. He didn't understand that their bodies had tricked their minds into believing that dope was as vital as food, water, and air. On his dope lines, Black would see his peers, his brothers and his sisters, aunts, uncles, mothers and fathers, waiting to cop dope. They were slaves, begging, borrowing, stealing, and selling their bodies for some get high. Daily, he could see the misery in their eyes. It dawned on him that those who had the least to lose always lost the most. And people didn't just use drugs, they abused them. Ignorance was the only excuse for Cynthia and her lack of knowledge of her son's illegal activities. How could she not know? Everyone in the neighborhood was telling her about her son selling drugs. She would often warn him about the ills of the street life and try to remind him of his father's untimely demise. This example was not enough to scare him or change his ways. Her message went in one ear and out the other. Black was deep in the game. He wouldn't listen to anybody except Nard. Cynthia started out trying to save her son from the streets. She never thought of who would save the streets from her son. Black was steadily bringing home large sums of money and giving it to his mother. At first, she wouldn't accept it, but eventually she did. She found it was harder and harder to say no to those $100 bills that he flashed her way. Over time, her mentality changed from that of a concerned parent to that of a co-defendant. By accepting his dirty money, she only encouraged him. She became his silent partner. Though she wasn't out there slinging dopes, her hands touched blood money just the same. She was as guilty as her son, if not more. But what other choice did she have? They needed that money. She needed that money. The grocer or Baltimore Gas and Electric Company didn't care where that money came from. as long as the bills were paid. Being the sole provider for the family, Black took great pride in taking care of his mother and little brother Darnell, nicknamed Stink. 8 years his senior, Black spoiled him rotten. He treated him more like a son than a little brother. He affectionately nicknamed his brother Stink because of the way he smelled when his diaper was being changed, hence the name. His life was pampered compared to Black's. He didn't want for nothing, as Black made sure of that. His closet was filled with designer clothes. Any new toy or video game that came out, Black made sure he had it. Stink would never have to eat government cheese again, or the butter and syrup sandwiches Black called wish sandwiches, because he wished he had something else to put on the bread. Stink would never know the embarrassment of paying for Chinese takeout with food stamps from the corner store. There would be no more hard times or bad times, not if Black could help it. The money Black was accumulating easily surpassed any amount his father ever brought home. He knew the value of money, and he obsessed with saving it. His mother held his stash, just as she'd done for his father. She never spent a penny. She never spent a penny unless it was absolutely necessary. Black had to encourage her to spend some money on household things. He had her buy new mattresses to replace the old pissy ones. Black bought a new living room and dining room set to replace the old raggedy ones. Cynthia bought pots and pans, everything else needed for a kitchen. Now the house began to look and feel more livable. It no longer reflected the gloom and despair that lay just outside the door. Under the watchful eye of Nard, Black began to come up, but he was still a work in progress. So Nard made it a habit to question him to see where his head was at. My bad, y'all. My dog in my back. That is not me wheezing, because I know people going to say I'm wheezing. That's my dog. He's hot. Come on. 1 second, y'all. Sorry. Okay, there we go. What you doing with your money, yo? Nard asked him one day out the blue. Saving it, answered Black sincerely. That's good, yo. The sun don't shine forever. Sometimes it rains. The game is funny like that. So you got to be careful, yo. Keep doing what you doing. Stacking that paper. Cause you never can tell with this run, Cause you never can tell when this run gonna come to an end. You gotta save it for rainy day. He didn't have to tell Black twice, cause Black knew the power of the dollar. Black watched it work every day on the streets. The rich got richer, the hustlers, and the poor get poor, the dope fiends. He knew what it was like to suffer after his father got killed, and there was no way in hell he was going to go back to living like that. He'd kill something first. 4 years later, Black began to look hard for something of value to invest part of his stash in. His heart became fixed on a car. He thought that if something ever happened to Nard, or if he fell off, he could always sell the car and get back on his feet. To be so young, he was grasping the mechanics of the game faster than grown men who had been hustling all their lives. He didn't know how to go about buying a car, so he turned to Nard, seeking his help and advice. Yo, Nard, Black called as he began approaching him one day after the shop closed. Yeah, yo, what's up? Asked Nard back. You know how you be telling me to save my money, yo? Black asked. Yeah, replied Nard. Um, I'm 18 now, yo. And he said with his voice getting low. He was like a child, afraid to ask his parent for something. He feared that Nard would try to talk him out of buying what he had his heart set on. I'll kill my dog. Really. He picked right now to do that. Okay. It's like he knows that I'm loud. Okay. Alright. My bad. That was so unprofessional. But blame my dog. Okay. I'm 18 now, yo, and he said with his voice getting low. He was like a child, afraid to ask his parent for something. He feared that Nard would try to talk him out of buying what he had his heart set on. I want to buy a car, he managed to blurt out. Nard couldn't believe his ears. Did he just say he wanted to buy a ride? Like a proud teacher, he smiled at his star pupil. Black was ahead of the game. These days, young hustlers are so lax with their money. It's easy come, easy go. Half of these hustlers had habits, just as bad as a drug habit, whether it was a weed habit, a tricking habit, jewelry habit, or a sneaker habit. A habit was a habit, and a hustler usually had a few. No matter what the habit, it had to be fed. Black didn't save any such vices. Excuse me, I must read that again. Black didn't have any such vices. He didn't gamble or get high. He did everything in moderation except hustle and save money. He took those things to the extreme. How much cash you working with, yo? Asked Yard. A little something, yo, Black replied. Fuck you mean a little something? Nard laughed. This me, I put your young ass on, nigga. But you learning, never let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. In this game, you can't trust nobody. No bitch or no nigga. And sometimes not even family. Nard reminded him. Then he added, if you're serious, yo, tomorrow, I'll take you down to Virginia and we'll get you a car, said Nard, making everything right before he rolled out. It wasn't till the next day when Black whipped out the 20,000 from his stash that Nard became a believer. He offered to sell Black one of his 5 cars, but Black rejected that idea. He wanted his own car, his own identity, not some car that Nard had previously driven around town. To him, it was sort of like sharing your main girl with your man. Nard understood where he was coming from with that, so they went to Virginia as planned. After all, it was his money. In Springfield, Virginia, there was a crooked car dealer from D.C. where the majority of hustlers from Bmore bought their cars. The main reason for traveling to Virginia, though, was because the sales guy never reported cash transactions over 10K. Anything over 10K had to be reported to the feds. Instead, the sales guy would hook up paperwork to make it appear that they hadn't spent that amount, when in all actuality, they had. Through word of mouth, hustlers from Bmore started buying their cars from him. Nard had copped 2 of his 5 cars from there. This Toyota Cressida and BMW 325 convertible. a 325 convertible. Before he got too large to buy. Ooh, I just closed my dang Kindle, y'all. My bad. Nard had copped 2 of his 5 cars from there. This Toyota Cressida and BMW 325 convertible. Before he got too large to buy cars from car lots like these. Having dealt with the car dealer before, they were pretty familiar with each other. As soon as they pulled on the lot in Nard's Lexus, the dealer knew what time it was. They weren't down there to browse. The greedy car dealer loved dealing with hustlers. Because they always paid with cash. He rushed Nard into his office while Black walked around the gigantic car lot. He was mesmerized at the vast collection of automobiles. The Jaguars, Volvos, BMWs, Benzes, and Porsches in every make and model stared back at him. Black lusted hard after one of these status symbols until Nard came out on the lot and busted his bubble. Don't even think about it, yo. You not copping one of these rides. For a dude your age, it'll be more trouble than it's worth, said Nard firmly. How you figure? That Black demanded to know, his pockets right and ready for way. Look how young you look. You ain't even got a mustache yet. Police gonna be pulling you over and shit. Be more ain't but so big. There ain't but so many places you could drive a Jag or Benz without getting noticed. One of these cars would get you hotter than fish grease, said Nard, trying to explain this without any disagreements between him and his star pupil. It was settled. Black copped a black, slightly used Toyota 4Runner with chrome rims, bumpers, and crash bars. He thought this rough-looking truck would enhance his image. The sticker price of the vehicle was $25K, but Nard talked the dealer down to $20K, which he already knew was in Black's pocket. The dealer accepted the cash and took care of the paperwork. He placed the title and registration in Black's mother's name. Then he slapped the temporary tags on the rear window, and they were off. Black successfully managed to navigate his way back to Beemore following Nard. He was the talk of the hood, styling and profiling on the block. Things were all good for Black. He was coming up in the game. But everybody knows what goes up must come down.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. First off, can't play me, I ain't no Xbox. I'm pulling up, busting windows. I'm at your mama's spot, kicking cups, smacking dice. I'll make this block hot, no tracking here, slacking where? Wait, get your home right. I'm sick and tired of fucking crying and sleepless nights. Bitches approaching me, telling me they don't know of me. Oh, you think you slick, you think you got one up? You better ask my last nigga, cut his ass right up. Yeah, can't cry over spilled milk if I knew it was rotten. And all these memories we had, they was quickly forgotten. Oh, this nigga think he's smooth, he tryna cast it over me. Keep him lying through his teeth, leave his ass like Emily B. No pink turtlenecks, but I'm feeling bad. You less, I can't let him go, but watch me loosen up. My grip, I'm hopping in my bag, I'm talking about that go wall. Shit, I need a couple bags. Ain't talking about no go yard, bitch, you geeking for. I'm really about the dragon, gon' cry no more. I had to tell that nigga stop playing with me before they find this picture on murder me. Be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to. Better watch the way you handling me. I told you just be careful with me. You better be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to. Better watch the way you handling me.
Well, that's been another installment, darlings. So we're up to chapter 11. We'll see how my week goes, but like I said, we're at about 50% of the book. We're halfway through. So I'm going to try to keep this up with this every 2 days or so. You never know, I might pop up with one. Keep checking my community wall because I will post if I'm going to come or that I am live before I actually start, and I'll give you time. Don't forget the 100-pound giveaway. You need to enter between November 9th and November 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You must have PayPal, you must be 18 years or older, and you must be subscribed to me. You do it in my comment section. You're gonna say enter me and then hashtag KEYSDARLINS, okay? If you have more than one account, subscribe to me. Feel free to enter with each account because each account goes towards my account. As far as subscribers go. So please subscribe, hit that thumbs up, like, share, hit that notification bell. I love you, darlings. I really do. And thank you for stopping through. There's been another 2 chapters. This book is hot. It was hot 20 years ago, and it's hot now. I'm telling you. Shannon Holmes, you did your shit. I'll see y'all soon.